Madeline Fredrickson,
Warren Murray,
Savannah Gropey,
Emma Plank,
Tessa Ponslett.
34% of the world's population believes that the Earth is flat. That is more than 1/3 of the world's Earth's population. Trevor Nace has a PhD from Duke University in geology, published from Forbes Journal in 2018.
I'm sure we've all heard of conspiracy theory at one point in our lives. There's so many different theories about so many different things that they'd be hard to miss.
Many unexplained mysteries have conspiracy theories that are used in an attempt to explain them.
First, we will tell you some conspiracies surrounding the Bermuda Triangle. Then, we will tell you conspiracies about the sinking of the Titanic. Next, we will tell you about conspiracies surrounding the lost colony of Roanoke Island.
Then we will inform you about the moon landing, and finally we will inform you about Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Now let's begin by getting a better understanding of the conspiracies of the Bermuda Triangle. There are many conspiracy theories attached to the Bermuda Triangle. According to Natalie Calarasi, a graduate from Ohio University's School of Journalism and a Visual Features Fellow in Insider, published in August of 2020, states that the Bermuda Triangle is a stretch of the Atlantic Ocean that has been credited with the deaths and disappearances of over 8,000 lives since the mid-19th century. And it has also been credited with the disappearance of at least 50 ships and at least 20 airplanes. It is no wonder that there are so many conspiracies surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, as there has been so many disappearances circulating around it. This is why many believe that portals, extraterrestrials, and geological issues are just a few of the reasons that the Bermuda Triangle has conspiracies. According to Ben Radford, who has a master's degree in education and has contributed to more than 20 books in life science published in September of 2012, states that the conspiracy theories surrounding the Bermuda Triangle have been circulating ever since Christopher Columbus sailed his first voyage to the New World. As he sailed his first voyage to the New World, he recorded that a bursting flame of fire struck the ocean and then a light appeared there a week later. And in 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers were set out from Fort Lauderdale, Florida into the Atlantic Ocean, and they completely vanished. They were scheduled for a 3-hour exercise, and they never came back because the pilot got worried after the compass failed that they were going into the wrong direction, so he decided that they needed to turn back around to Florida, and he ended up going the wrong way, and he went back further into the Atlantic towards the Bermuda Triangle, and eventually as they were over the Bermuda Triangle, everything got cut out and they were completely gone from the world. One of the last things that the pilot said that was recorded was that everything seemed so strange, even the ocean. And the other reported that the whole ocean looked white and everything just seemed so dangerous. On the official Navy report, it stated that it was as if they had just flown to Mars. Now that I've informed you about the conspiracies of the Bermuda Triangle, Emma will further explain the conspiracies of the sinking of the Titanic.
The sinking of the Titanic is a very well-known event around the world. According to Becky Little, who graduated from the College of William and Mary, published from the History Channel in February of 2019, states that there are many conspiracies surrounding the sinking of the Titanic. According to David Grossman, who has degrees from both the University of Texas and the University of Columbia, from the journal The Titanic Conspiracies Debunked, published in February of 2022, states that the Titanic itself never sank, and it was its sister ship, the Olympic. There are many facts that back this theory. For one, the Olympic was a very damaged ship, so there is a theory that the two ships switched and that the Olympic was the one that hit the iceberg. This is also backed up by some of the characteristics that were on the boat. Many of the characteristics on the ship that sank follow up with the Olympic and not the Titanic. People say that the Titanic could still be floating around today. The next set of conspiracies conspiracy of the three is that the mummy was on board the ship and that its curse led the ship to hit the iceberg and sink. The next conspiracy that go along with the mummy said that artifacts that the mummy owned were on board the ship and that these led the ship to sink. And finally, there was a said curse on one of the people researching the mummy that said that the curse followed the researcher onto the Titanic and that led the ship to sink. Now that I have informed you about the conspiracies of the Titanic, let's look at some conspiracies of the lost colony of Roanoke Island.
You may have all heard different conspiracy theories about the lost colony of Roanoke. One is that the Native Americans attacked the English. Conflict between them may have occurred because the English was exploring the land and its resources. Dare stones found support this theory. Kaylin Tador, a student at Butler University pursuing a degree in biochemistry from a publication called The Lost Colony of Roanoke, published in 2020, states that another theory is they may have tried to return home. In this attempt, they may have got lost at sea. Little is known about the pinnace, but it was small and could have made the trip, usually alongside other vessels. The biggest conspiracy theory is that the Native Americans, that they joined the Native Americans. The biggest evidence is that the word Croatan. There's an island nearby called Hatteras. There's a tribe on here called the Croatan, and members of it have white ancestors. Between 1600s and 1700s, English people met Native Americans that were gray-eyed and have white ancestors. Sarah Cascone, a senior writer and co-founder of Young Woman in the Arts of ArtNet, published in 2020, states that two different anthropological teams found remains that say that they have survived and split off into different groups. They found a slate writing tablet, clay tobacco pipes, stoneware vessel, and a German token. This historical evidence says that Hatteras is where they went. In this attempt, they ditched their English supplies like ammo and clothes and their cultural language like style and language. Now that I've told you about Lost Colony of Roanoke, Warren will inform you about the moon landing.
The moon landing is something that conspiracy theorists love to analyze. They will pick out the smallest details and then try to put them together to fit into a larger theory. One of the main things that conspiracy theorists say is that the shadows of the people and the flags are not parallel. They argue that since the sun is the only light source, that every shadow should be parallel. But Louis Devoy says otherwise. Louis Devoy graduated from Greenwich College with a degree in sociology and wrote for the Royal Museums, published in 2020. And she says that that's actually wrong. She says that since you are taking a 2D shadow and then projecting it onto a 3D surface, which is the moon, that will cause the shadows to look like they're not parallel. But the question is, why do some of these theories spread? Some of them sound pretty far out, and a lot of the people researching these theories don't have the credentials to back up what they're saying. And Ann Pladoff says that the main reason is because of social media. Ann Pladoff graduated from the University of North Texas with a master's in library science and wrote for the Washington Flag Congress in 2018. And she says that since many people have access to social media nowadays, they can feel free to post whatever they like. But all of this attention that these social media platforms are getting isn't exactly what they're looking for. Mark Fadul, who graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a master's in technology, wrote for the Archive of Computers and Society, published in 2020, says that YouTube has started to change their algorithms, so they are no longer recommending videos about theories, and they're also going as far as removing the monetization of the videos and even removing them. and also states that Facebook has now started to ban accounts that are potentially spreading false information. The way that these theories start is with people that don't understand what's actually happening, and they tend to create theories that people like themselves can understand, and they then go on to post about it for other people that also feel like they're being lied to. Now that I've discussed why people tend to believe conspiracy theories, Madeline will talk about the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370.
I'm going to inform you on Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. What do we know about what happened to this plane? Johan Augustine, a doctoral student from Speedwings Aviation Academy, in his dissertation titled Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, Unofficial Disappearance Theories, published in 2019. We know that the plane took off at 12:41 a.m. from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Beijing, China. And the transponder that was tracking the plane was turned off at 1:07 a.m. and the last voice correspondence that we heard from the plane was at 1:19 a.m. At 1:30 a.m., Malaysian military radars tracked the plane all the way up until 2:22 when we lost all contact with the plane over the Andaman Sea. Now that I have told you about what we know about the plane, I'm going to tell you some theories that go behind it. Sarah Moody has a doctoral from Stanley State in her dissertation titled Conspiracy Theories, Psychology Behind Flight MH370, published in 2017. The first theory that I'm going to talk about is a pilot's suicide. This theory suggests that the pilot hijacked the plane and used it to commit suicide because his wife had left him shortly before that, and it was obviously shown in him that he was very distraught about it. The next theory I'm going to talk about is cracks in the plane. This suggests that there is cracks in the plane because the pilots would have not detected the oxygen leaving the plane as well as the passengers. And the next theory I'm going to talk about is the Asian Bermuda Triangle. This theory suggests that many of the planes that had vanished in the Bermuda Triangle were in the exact opposite side of the globe than where the Malaysian Airlines flight disappeared as well.
First, we informed you on the conspiracies of the Bermuda Triangle. Then we informed you on the conspiracies of the sinking of the Titanic, and next we informed you on the conspiracies of the lost colony of Roanoke Island.
Following that, we explained some of the conspiracies behind the moon landing. And finally, we told you about some conspiracies surrounding the Malaysian Air Flight 370.
Many unexplained mysteries have conspiracy theories that are used in an attempt to explain them.
34% of the world's population believes that the Earth is flat. This goes to show that no matter how bizarre, there's always going to be a theory for everything.
From the moon landing to the sinking of the Titanic, there is always going to be conspiracy theories about everything. But it is up to you to choose what you are going to believe.